doesn't save lives. Early detection doesn't save lives. That has been expressed by these scientists in the British Medical Journal. It's really just a numbers trick. And we've exposed that in a story. Total fraud. It is time to boycott everything that is attached to a pink ribbon. So if you run for a cure, you are being conned. If you give money to any run for the cure, you've been conned. That money doesn't go to help women prevent breast cancer, not at all. The whole thing is a scam. Now, the fraud is being exposed even in the conventional medical industry. Think about it. The British Medical Journal, which is funded by drug company advertisements, even ran this article attacking the Komen deceptions and the false fraudulent propaganda in the ads. Think about it. The British Medical Journal, that is, it is an institution almost of the medical industry that is well respected. Excuse me. And they would run this and they would go after Komen. Really? That's how bad it's gotten, that even the people in the industry can't deal with it anymore. They have to tell the truth. So kudos to Woloshin and Schwartz for being willing to step out there and actually tell the truth. But there's more to the story. What happens when you get chemotherapy? This is breaking news right now. And I'm writing an article on this tonight, so you'll see this tomorrow on Natural News. Yes, I'm actually reading you tomorrow's news today. So the story is, it's a shock cancer finding. The chemotherapy causes healthy cells to grow cancer tumors. Actually, it works like this. When healthy cells are exposed to chemotherapy, they emit a protein. The protein is called WNT16B. The name doesn't matter. Don't worry about the name. It's a protein that is then taken up by the cancer cells, the cancer tumors growing nearby, causes those tumors to, quote, grow, invade, and resist subsequent therapy. And that's from Peter Nelson of the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle. He's the co-author of a study that documents this phenomenon, which has been published in the journal Nature Medicine. It turns out chemotherapy is a fraud. It backfires. Chemotherapy causes cancer tumors to grow. So at first, it shrinks the tumors, and then when the chemotherapy stops, that patient aggressively grows more tumors more quickly, which is why cancer always comes back. If you go get chemotherapy, it always comes back. And meanwhile, you're being killed by the chemicals. Your hair is falling out. You're vomiting. You're losing muscle mass. You're losing your appetite. You're being starved to death. You look like a concentration camp victim because you got the chemotherapy. And why did you get the chemotherapy in the first place? Because the Komen group did a mammogram and through false advertising to convince you to get a mammogram, and then you had a false diagnosis of a breast cancer tumor, and then you said yes to the oncologist that makes money off of selling you the very chemotherapy chemicals that we now know backfire and cause cancer tumors to grow more aggressively. The whole thing is a malicious crime against women. It's not just women. You know, men are caught up in all this with prostate cancer, but it is especially targeting women. And more importantly, for all of you out there who are listening who have, let's say, darker skin color, you're African Americans out there, you're being targeted, you're being victimized by this, because guess where Komen takes their little mobile mammography vans into low-income neighborhoods, targeting low-income women who they know have more aggressive breast cancer tumors because vitamin D deficiency is epidemic across the African American community, because the dark skin color blocks the ultraviolet light from the sunlight. If you get sunlight, you generate vitamin D. So you can actually prevent cancer in your own body. Cancer tumors don't grow in the presence of high levels of vitamin D circulating in your body, not unless you're exposed to high levels of radiation or a really toxic chemical, for example. So the Komen group goes into the black neighborhoods and irradiates the breasts of those women, knowing that it's going to produce revenues for the drug companies and revenues for the mammogram companies, and it's going to give them more power so everybody can run around running for a cure, pink washing. And then the battery companies sell their products with little pink ribbons on them, and then the cosmetic companies that have their toxic cancer-causing chemicals can sell you their little pink ribbon cosmetics. Yeah, hey, why not have a pink ribbon cigarette? You know, a brand of like Komen smokes, pink ribbon cigarettes. Yeah, with every breath, you're helping to find a cure for the cancer that you're getting by using our product. That's what the slogan should be. I mean, that's how crazy this is. Look, you think about everything that's going on today whether it's the cancer industry scam, whether it's the staged shootings that we're seeing with the Sikh temple in Wisconsin, with Aurora, Colorado, with the attacks, the assaults on farmers in Canada and in the United States, on raw milk, on home gardens, on your free speech rights are under attack. You're being surveilled by smart grid technology. Pretty soon, when all those are installed, they're going to be able to turn off your television if they want you to. They're going to be able to turn off your AC, kill huge numbers of people during a heat wave in Chicago one summer, for example, just by turning off your electricity with the smart grid. It's all becoming so insane that it's hard to deal with. It's just hard. It's difficult to communicate this to people who aren't on board. If you're listening to this show for the first time, you must be blown away. You must be just going, what? How could this be? This contradicts everything I've seen on CNN or even Fox News or all these other conventional news programs. How could any of this be true? How could the mammogram ads by Susan G. Komen for the Cure, how could those be fraudulent? Well, they are. How could these shootings be staged? Well, they are. We're not asking you to believe something that's crazy. We're asking you to wake up and see reality and deal with reality. Pull your head out of the sand. Stop burying yourself from the real world around you and start actually dealing with it. Because we got to stop the mass death. We got to stop the chemotherapy, which of course has its roots, by the way, in I got to say, IG Farben, Nazi Germany chemical experiments on human beings. That's where it really has its history. Hey, how many minutes do we have left in this segment, guys? I'm sorry, I just get carried away with all this. It's too much to deal with. I want to go to a caller because I know everybody's got passion about all these subjects. We've got Clark in Arizona, a former police officer who's been holding. Clark, thank you for holding. And what are your thoughts, sir? You're on the air.
Well, my thoughts are very, very similar to some of your previous callers. This is all staged. No doubt in my mind about it. I was Force Recon, the United States Marine Corps. I did two enlistments. I'm also a former peace officer. I'm about to become another one. I think you hit on one subject that I was really listening to was marksmanship skills.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot more than being a sharpshooter to survive what's coming. Because it's coming. There's no doubt in my mind. The worst thing that can happen is a civil war. We'll weaken ourselves from within, and that will allow the UN to come in and do their mop-up.
That's right.
There are so many veterans in this country, I'm being one of them, who are willing to donate our time to teach people escape and evasion. That's very important. Close quarters combat, another important thing. And other things that they need to know is how to get a topo map of the area they live in. Learn how to use a lensatic compass. Do not trust GPS to be manipulated.
That's right.
And freeze-dried foods. Have a small pack for everybody in your family. So if you have to get out, you can get out quick. You're not going to have time to take the TV, the furniture, the freezer, and everything else with you. You're going to have to travel light. In order to travel fast, you have to travel light.
Yeah, well said. Where can civilians learn these skills? Any ideas?
Well, many of us vets are more than willing to teach these people, our neighbors, our friends, in any community, the skills they need, the basic skills, because we certainly don't have the time to get into everything that we learned the hard way. But give them the basic skills that they can use and they can hone themselves just by going out on a weekend with their family.
Yeah.
Learn how to use that compass. Learn how to travel at night.
Well, I agree with you. I see a lot of people buying gear, but they may end up heavy on the gear, but not knowing how to use it. A lot of stuff sits on the shelf, and you can't pull it out on the day you need it and try to figure it out.
Exactly. And I want to touch on one thing real quick before you run out of time here and before my cell phone drops dead.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if we, the people, the majority of us, and I figured it'd take at least 70%, were to have a special election, re-elect a new Congress, the president, the vice president, and put them right back in Philadelphia where they got started, and do a triple bypass on Washington, D.C. Just a little food flop there.
Well, I love the idea, and thank you for your call. You've got a lot of good information. You know, the trick is there are so many masses of people who are totally asleep who they love the system. that's rolling out. They love disarmament. They love being mass murdered, led into mass graves and gassed in chambers. They love it because they don't know history. We got to educate them, wake them up, and make them aware. That's what we're trying to do right here at Infowars.com. So one more segment straight ahead. Stay with us. This is Mike Adams. We'll be right back with much more.
Alex Jones here with a very...
All right, in the few minutes we have remaining, I'm going to play for you part of the video that I put together called Why Doctors Are More Dangerous Than Guns. And you can find the entire video on YouTube. Just search for that title, Why Doctors Are More Dangerous Than Guns, or search for it on naturalnews.com or Infowars.com. Anyway, we'll go to that video, and then I'll be back at the very end to wrap it up. So here's the video. Gun control hinges on the idea that so-called gun violence is epidemic across America. As President Obama said about the 2012 Aurora, Colorado Batman movie theater shooting, quote,
every day the number of young people we lose to violence is about the same as the number of people we lost in that movie theater. For every Columbine or Virginia Tech, there are dozens gunned down on the streets of Chicago and Atlanta. Here in New York.
What he didn't say, however, is that every day 290 people are killed by FDA-approved prescription drugs. And that's the conservative number published by the Journal of the American Medical Association. The source of this information? JAMA, Volume 284, Number 4, July 26, 2000, authored by Dr. Barbara Starfield, MD, of the Johns Hopkins School of Hygiene and Public Health. That study, which is 12 years old, and drug deaths have risen considerably since then, documents 106,000 deaths per year from the adverse effects of FDA-approved prescription medications. To reach this number from outbreaks of violent shootings, you'd have to see an Aurora, Colorado Batman movie massacre take place every hour of every day, 365 days a year. If a massacre of people using slugs of lead is bad, why is a massacre of people using deadly chemicals perfectly acceptable? No one in Washington talks about prescription drug deaths. There are no sobbing victims shown on the evening news. This chemical massacre happens quietly, behind closed doors. Yet to achieve this level of mass death in the world of plane crashes, for example, you'd have to see a jumbo jet airliner crashing into the ground every day of the year. But that's only the beginning of the mass death caused by modern medicine, where greed-driven doctors are routinely bribed by the drug giants, and thereby make the Joker James Holmes look like a Boy Scout in comparison. As Natural News has revealed, just one company, GlaxoSmithKline, had a bribery network of 49,000 doctors who received financial kickbacks to prescribe more Glaxo pharmaceuticals to more patients. The company admitted to bribing doctors and paid a $3 billion settlement to the federal government in 2012. According to the report Death by Medicine by Drs. Gary Knoll, Carolyn Dean, Martin Feldman, Deborah Razio, and Dorothy Smith, the medical establishment kills 783,936 people in the United States every year. Those deaths include 106,000 Americans killed from drug side effects, 115,000 Americans killed from bed sores, 98,000 Americans killed from medical error, 88,000 Americans killed from infections, 32,000 Americans killed from surgery, 37,000 Americans killed by unnecessary medical procedures, and much more. See naturalnews.com for links to the original data. The bottom line total comes to 783,936 All right, that's deaths. the video. It continues. Just search YouTube for Why Doctors Are More Dangerous Than Guns. I want to thank you for listening today. It's been an honor serving here in the InfoWars studio. And Alex Jones